Were you telling me you had seen some scenes on TV?
Yeah, when the building had came down, you could see where the water was pouring down from the pool and the debris that was on the ground. Now this was before this building even, fell off. So that should have told the owner. I mean, come on, it's no way in the world that they didn't see this thing here. You know what I'm saying? You have water leaking from the pool onto the floor and all this debris. The thing was coming apart.
Well, because of this, the effect now is that they're going to have to investigate all the other properties in that
Yes,
surrounding
sure.
area, and I'm willing to bet that there are all kinds of problems
All kinds.
with
All
the
kinds.
condominium and the area
And
that
the
it was on.
area.
When you build it on the top of wetlands,
Yes. What would you
it's
expect?
not going to
What
have
do you
a
expect?
sturdy base.
Exactly. What do you expect?
So, but hopefully they've learned from this.
Hopefully, because
You
lives
know.
were taken. Hopefully.
Yes.
Hopefully.
So,
And before I get to the other side of the news, going back to Independence Day, Janine, I hope that this will remind all of us that all men are created equally, and it's just too bad that we can't change that to all people, or everybody's created equal. So how do you out there celebrate? Now for Mr. Bill Cosby.
oh, do
Well.
we have to?
I'm afraid so. And this comes from entertainment headlines. The disgraced Cosby Show actor was released from prison on Wednesday after serving 2 years of 3 to 10-year sentence. His abrupt release came after a Pennsylvania Supreme Court overturned the 83-year-old's conviction from sexual assault after finding that District Attorney Kevin Steele, the prosecutor who brought the case against Cosby, violated an agreement to not charge him.
What?
Yes. Okay. He's been in prison almost 3 years. His wife hasn't visited him not once. Wyatt assisted Cosby in his return home, and Wyatt was also the comedian's sole visitor in prison. Well, listen, I think it's unfair that he was released. And all this stuff about, things didn't happen the way they should have. He's being unfairly, accused, and the courts didn't do this, the courts didn't do that. It's like a loophole for him to jump through to get out. I just, like I said, it's unfair that they released him. Okay, I feel for these women who were violated. I really do. It took the Me Too movement for them to come out the way they did. And it's not that none of them wanted to not come out. Many years ago, one came out. She was a model and an actress, and she came out and she had told what was done to her by Mr. Cosby, and where on his premises. Here's his house here, and the other house that he had the women to come to is over there. Okay, so this is where all this stuff was taking place. Him drugging them and then having sex with them. Okay, so when she came out and told about it, oh my God, the people almost ate her alive. Okay, and it was all on the news, and that made her run back to her corner and hide. Now here we go, many, many, many years later, the Me Too movement came out.
Yes.
Women were coming out and being brave and saying what was going on with them, and that gave the women who Bill Cosby was violating the courage to all come out, and I was glad that they did. But when you look at this here thing where he spends, 2.5 years in prison, and now he's released, that's like a slap in the face to them. To the victims, that's a slap in the face,
It is.
and I just think it's just disgusting. And as far as his wife never going to visit him. If I was his wife, if that was my husband, I wouldn't go visit him. I really wouldn't. That was a downright low down dirty thing that he did to all of these women. Okay? And I cannot see and I cannot believe that his wife Camille did not know something was going on. I refuse to believe that she didn't. Because a lot of times women know things going on and they'll turn their head. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, maybe that's why she didn't visit him, because she knew already. You understand? And as far as his kids not going to see him, I can understand why. You know, although they keep saying he didn't do it, he's innocent. If he's innocent, why do you need to go see your dad? You know? Because I think they feel deep down in their heart that he did it. You know? But a slap on the wrist is what he got. And then he had the nerve to raise his fist in the air and say all these silly things that he's saying anything. And the point is, he's already said that he's getting back out there, he's getting back on stage, and believe it or not, Janine, yes, there are a lot of people hating him right now. But believe it or not, you have thousands of people who still believe that he didn't do this thing, who believe that he was wrongly accused, and they are just waiting for him to get back out there on stage. Now my thing is this. When he was out there on stage doing his comedy, and I know a lot of people out there will remember this because I do. Some of his comedy was about dropping a pill in the woman's drink. What does that say? And I'm like, he was just doing what he was doing to the other woman anyway. You know, and what kind of joke is that, dropping a pill in a woman's drink to make her, you know, unconscious, not know what's going on? Listen, the man is guilty as guilty as hell. You know what I'm saying? And I think he should have stayed in prison. I think it's unfair to these women that they have to know that this guy got a slap on the wrist, and what they said didn't matter.
And
Didn't matter.
really, it doesn't.
It didn't matter what happened to them. And so I just think that for the women that, God forbid it might happen to in the future, maybe they won't even come out because they see how things are, how women are treated, and how they let men get off with this thing that they do. So, you know, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense, and I'm very disappointed in the courts, to tell you the truth. Yeah.
I think there probably was money involved and a payoff, a good payoff fee, too, with that lawyer.
Well, I tell you, whatever it was, it worked. That's all I can say, and it stinks. Okay. So moving on to our topic of the day. So Janine, my question to you is, when do we tell our daughters where babies come from?
And of
When?
course, with that
When do we
topic
tell
will
our
be
babies?
how our
When do-
babies made. It gets more complicated as the discussion goes on.
Well, we're going to stick with where they come from, and then the next topic will be, well, maybe how they made, because it's already hard and complicated to tell them how it's made and where it came from. So, when do we tell them where it comes from?
Oh, and there's no formula for it. I think a lot depends on the age of the child. If the child is more inquisitive as opposed to not asking so many questions.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always had this belief from the time that I understood myself.
Mm-hmm.
The information should not come from the schools.
Mm-hmm.
It should not come from your friends.
Right.
It is the responsibility of the parents
Yeah.
to sit down and talk to their children, Some parents have a hard time communicating all that, but there are books that are out
Yeah.
that are simplified
Yeah.
to talk to your children about this.
Mhm.
And they can help you if you don't feel as comfortable talking outright about it yourself. For the longest time, like you, I thought that they came from your belly and had no concept of really what was happening.
Mhm.
What do you feel at this point?
Well, well, that was a tough one for me because I wasn't told where babies came from. I was told at a young age. Cause I asked my mother where the babies come from, and she used to say, "Well, a stork brings the baby to the mother at her house, you know." And then when I was about 11, she said the baby came out of the stomach. Well, that's true to a certain extent. That's the only time a baby comes from a stomach is when the woman is having a cesarean. That's the only time. Okay, so I went with that one. Then when I was in 6th grade, we were in assembly, and I don't even know how we got on the subject, but a friend of mine was on this side, I was in the middle, and another friend of mine was on this side, and we were talking about, I don't know what happened. She looked over like this to me and said, do you know where babies come from? And I was like, yeah. I said, babies come from the stomach. She was like, no, it don't. I said, yes, they do. We would argue back and forth. Yes, they do. Babies do come from the stomach, right? Come from the mother's stomach. She said, no, it doesn't. So she asked her other friend on the side of me. She said, so-and-so, do babies come from the stomach? She said, no. So I said, where babies come from? And she pointed down there in the area. And I was like, ew, you know. And I said, no, it doesn't. She said, yes, it does. And she said, isn't that true, so-and-so? She said, yes, it is. It's true. And so I'm sitting there all shocked and everything, and I'm trying to figure out how. No way. No, it doesn't. This big ball right here, that's where it come from. Just come out the stomach.
Oh.
Because I couldn't fathom what, I don't know. You know, but I never, I don't remember, and I don't think that I did. I don't think that I ran home and asked my mom, is it true that, babies came from down there? I just didn't do it. Probably because in my mind, and now, listen, I'm in 6th grade now thinking this is when they told me when I'm in 6th grade.
Right.
And I didn't ask my mom about what they said because I guess in my mind, well, my mother's my mother and she's a grown up, so she knows better than they do. They don't know what they're talking about. So I guess that's the reason why I didn't ask her, because I didn't believe them and I believed her. You know where the babies come from. It's just like, when parents make up names for our private parts. And it's just kind of funny to me. I remember when Nadina and Aziza were smaller. I'm trying to see how old they were. I'm thinking that maybe they were 10, maybe, if that. And I think I overheard them talking about something other. And so I said, where's that book at? So I had a book, a small book, where it says, where it tells it put it in the form where children could understand pictures and reading, simple reading, where babies come from. It was cartoon drawn, and then you had first they had the mother and the father standing side by side, smiling, huggy, showing happy mother and father, and then you had the mother and father, and then they had the mother and father, they were in the bed, and the daddy was on top of them. And then the next one, you had the mommy, and she had the belly. And then The next one, they actually was shown where the baby came from, and I'm behind now. I'm not in the room with them when they're going through this. I'm not in the
okay.
room with them, no, because it was hard for me to try to explain things to them. And I said, well, how am I supposed to do this? When am I supposed to do this? I know I have to do it because they hear things in the street. You
Yes.
know,
and
because I hear them talk about it because they come home, you know, so and so, and I'm like, oh, okay, you know. So I'm not in there. I gave them the book. I said, here, y'all read this book right here. And I'm on the outside. And I got my ear to the door, and they're reading. You know, I hear them reading, and then I hear little chuckles, and then I'm reading again, and then loud chuckles, and they're reading again. And then they hear these big. I said, well, listen, at least they read it, and they know.
They know.
I told them through the book, you know, but it was kind of hard for me, cause I really didn't know how to go about it. You know what I'm saying?
But that's what's happening with a lot of other parents
Yeah.
too. So they put it off because they
Yeah,
don't know
cause they don't know.
how to do it, and then the kids pick up all kinds of things. And with social media and just the openness that we as a community and
Yes.
society have about talking about things,
Mhm.
the information
The
travels
information
so much
travels.
faster.
Yes, it does.
So
Yes, it does. And I was like, oh my goodness, I hope I done it right. I think I did it right because they were telling the information that I didn't have to tell them that I was afraid to tell them or didn't know how to tell them. Well, the book was there, and they put it where it's just it's not like with a whole lot of reading and stuff like it was just sentences and stuff like that, you know. And then they saw the pictures like that, you know. So I was satisfied with that.
So you felt good
I said
about
so,
that.
yeah. So I tell them because listen, at least I did it that way, but I wasn't told at all,
Right.
you know.
Right.
So
So our
Um,
message is to inform your children
inform your children,
before
yeah.
the street
Yes.
informs them.
Yeah, and the schools should not have to tell them, you know, even with the sex education. When do you sit them down and tell them, you know, talk to them about that?
Now that just
It's just
happened
tricky.
in the
I don't know.
yeah, that just happened in the 5th grade in the building that I sub in, and the gym teacher and the principal were both in the room
Okay.
for.
So the
talking
teacher was
about
teaching
it.
about sex education. Well, I
They were
think
teaching.
okay. I don't have a problem with teachers because we had sex education.
Right.
We did when we
Right.
were in school,
Right.
you know. But some parents don't like that. The kids having sex education in their, you know.
No,
in
some
school.
of them don't.
So
And I think probably they had to sign a permission slip that allowed the teacher and the principal to be in the room while they were
yeah.
educating
Yes.
the students.
Well,
I'm
I
sure
tell
that
you the
happened.
truth. I'm glad that we had sex education in our school. I'll tell you why. Because not only was I not told about where babies really came from, I was not told about the birds and the bees. This is how it went.
And that's another topic
Right.
that we probably
Right,
don't
exactly.
have time to
This is how it
discuss
went.
today. To be continued.
When she told me about the birds and bees, this is how it went. When you grow up, you get a boyfriend, right?
Okay.
Then you get married. I'm skipping everything else. Grow up, you have a boyfriend. What happens in between the time you have a boyfriend? None of that. When you grow up, you have a boyfriend. Okay? Then you get married. Nothing in between. Then you have kids. Okay, so how do you have kids? So there you go.
To be
There you
continued.
go. To be continued. Okay, Miss Janine, do you have any pearls of wisdom
My
to
pearls
drop
of
on us
wisdom
today?
are
Drop
that
it
it's
on us.
more blessed to give than to receive.
It is.
We are in a nation that's give me, I want, and just are, we just want so many things.
Yes.
But the reality of it is, if we start looking at people that we can help and be kind to, that our needs will be taken care of.
Sure.
And I think that's something that takes a long time to understand.
Yes.
You don't understand that so much when you're a child,
Yes.
but as you get older, you do.
Mhm.
Happiness doesn't result from what we get, but
Right.
from what we give. And I want to give an example of a story that I thought was fitting. Dr. Ben Carson was he's retired now, but he was a neurosurgeon,
Mhm.
one of the world-renowned ones. He separated conjoined twins, who were the Binder twins, in September of 1987.
Mhm. Right.
His boss, who was the head of neurosurgery at the time, handed him the scalpel
Mhm.
and said that he wanted him to do it. But before he handed it to him,
Mhm.
he thought he could keep it himself
Right.
and get the glory for it. They both were educated enough
Yes.
that they could do it.
Yes.
But he thought about giving it to Ben Carson, Dr.
Mhm.
Ben Carson, because he felt that if he did give it to him, then he would be the one that
Okay.
would become world renowned, and it would
Mhm.
open up his possibilities
Right.
for future successes,
Right.
which he did. I mean,
Mhm.
he became a politician, he had publishing deals, he
Right.
was an excellent motivational speaker.
Mhm.
But look how his life blossomed
Yeah.
by the neurosurgeon just
Exactly.
handing it to him.
Right.
So you've got two things here. Ben Carson wanted to give his life to being a neurosurgeon and
Mhm.
helping those twins so they
Right.
would not have to be joined
Exactly.
together
Exactly.
for a lifetime.
Right.
And then his boss
Mhm.
was giving because he allowed
Handing the
him to
scalpel.
get it and get
Exactly.
the glory for it.
Exactly.
There are a lot of people that benefited from that attitude.
Exactly.
And definitely the twins did, and
Yes.
just so I try to keep that in mind. And sometimes people think, well, I don't have anything to give, I don't have any money.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
not,
it's not about money all the time. No,
money.
it's not.
It's not. It
Yeah.
can be giving of your time. It
Mhm.
can be praying for a person.
Mhm.
It can be sitting up all night listening to somebody
Right.
who's really down in the dumps. You can just, it's important to
So
listen
listen. Yeah.
to the needs around you. And I bet within 5 minutes, if you really listen to what somebody says, you hear a
You're
need.
here. Yeah.
So,
That's true. Well, Janine, thank you for those pearls of wisdom. And now we are at, as we always are, our stinker of the week.
oh,
And that's exactly what he's going to get.
uh-oh.
Mr. Cosby, you
Uh-oh.
are our stinker of the week because you have stated, and I quote what you said. You said, you have never changed your stance or your story. And I say to you, liars never do. So, you are our stinker of the week. So take that. And with that being said, our time here is up, Janine. I hope you enjoyed our show. We'll see you next week.
Goodbye. Have a good week.
It's been fun, but there's somewhere I've got to